All right, let me talk about the wedding I went to. I went to a wedding this weekend, my first ever wedding. And honestly, I don't know if all weddings are like that. Because again, I've only been to one. So it was a very traditional wedding from what I understood. It was an Asian wedding. I think we were 3 white people out of around 200 guests. There was like 200 guests. It was a big wedding, but it was a very conservative one. Very traditional, some really like cool elements from the brides and is it grooms cultures. Really, really cool. A lot of fun. But some parts of it I was very critical of. As you can imagine, me having fun at a party. So when I went to the wedding, first the bride's father is a pastor, and he's the one who celebrated, or like, you know, was doing the whole, how do you call it, the whole celebration, the whole ceremony. And there's a conception of love that I thought was extremely harmful, which he was pushing on everyone by quoting the Bible and shit. And I think it's a conception of love that, you know, is kind of idealized, but is also super harmful, not only for people who, you know, for couples who are already in a marriage, but for people who want to go into couples and want to be in a marriage. And I was telling Bali, if we ever get married, which I don't think we will, but if we ever do, you know, for the shits of it, or for the, you know, for the funny parts of it, I think one of the things that we'll say is that, yeah, we're celebrating our love or whatever. You know, we love each other and we want to be together. But the whole for like forever, until death do us apart, unconditional love, you know, forgive and forget, all that kind of shit has to be thrown out the window. What I'd like to say is, yes, we're getting married, but it most likely won't be forever. And that's fine. That's completely fine. And recognizing it now is important. Because going into a relationship and thinking it's going to last forever is can be extremely harmful, not only to yourself, but to your partner, obviously. Yeah, it's impossible standards, and it's standards that, you know, people still try to push through, even though they're in a very unhealthy relationship. So yeah, the whole till death do us apart, till unconditional love, forgive and forget, is one that, you know, I've seen a lot of older generation adopt, right? Because that was the conception of love that they adhered to, and this is one that was pushed on them, right? But I also see a lot of older people who are not happy together, and they haven't been happy together for years. Some people, you know, you've probably heard about it. You've probably heard this, you know, my bitch of a wife, my ball chain of a wife, oh, my good for nothing husband. These kinds of expressions, which mostly to boomers is really, really fucking funny, because like, haha, I hate my wife, my wife, haha, I hate my husband. To them, it's really funny, I guess, because they can relate to it. But it's like, why are you still with that person? If you hate them so much, if you think they're good for nothing, if you think they're a ball chain, just get out of that relationship if you aren't happy. It's harder to get out of a relationship, an unhappy relationship, than, you know, it's harder than it looks. Of course, you can tell me that. But I think also one of the things that makes it harder is the idea that, yeah, this person is, well, you know, we're together for life. We've committed to each other, and that's our lives now. Yeah, or I'm gonna go to the bar. I don't want like my wife to be there. My wife and the boys. Do you not like her? So when will the breakup stream be? Asks Pyroanarchists. No, we're very happy, Bali and I, and that's something that you know that is often perceived as weird, right? If we tell people, yeah, Bali and I, we really love each other, but it's very possible that one day we won't. And it's better to recognize it today, so that when we actually do like grow apart or whatever in our relationship, we can put an end to it and think, all right, this is it. It will still be hard. But deluding ourselves into thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be forever. And, we're both going to grow and develop as individuals in a way that will still make us compatible. I don't think so. The people who were married this weekend were 25 or 26, maybe 24. But in 30 years, I really hope for them that they will both be different people. I'm a different person from, who I was 5 years ago. So I will most definitely be very, very different in 30 years. But does that necessarily mean that Ballet is going to love this new version of me in 30 years? No, not necessarily. And I wouldn't expect them to. Because they love me for who I am now. And I hope they do love me for who I am now. But if I change for the worse or for the better, or just in a way that, is just not as compatible for them, we have to recognize that, all right, maybe things have changed, and they have. Boring, I want drama. All right, I'll give you a breakup stream. I'll talk to it with Ballet, and we'll try to schedule it. Will the gata muy bonita be there? It's a gato muy bonito. Yeah, of course. Look at him. He's so happy. I only go to weddings for the receptions. Yeah, the reception was kind of fun. Yeah, it was good. It was an open bar, good food. I didn't know anyone because it's Ballet's friends, but still, it was interesting. So, love is not forever, and it shouldn't be. Weddings are toxic and harmful for making you believe that it is. Love is conditional. It's conditional on many things. One of them is respect. The whole idea that, it's unconditional love. What if your partner disrespects you? What if your partner's toxic or abusive? You don't have to love them, and you don't have to feel pressured in loving them because you've made a contract bound by God or whatever. If your partner cheats on you, it's not forget and forgive. But weddings are cute, says Tiltic. It was so weird. I guess it's cute, but it's so... Well, all right, just in case no one knows how problematic the whole ceremony of wedding is, at least in its conception or its origin, the whole ceremony of weddings is passing down a woman as property. The father walks down the bride in the aisle and passes her down to the husband. It's a transaction. Sean's first time in a hetero environment. Yeah, exactly. As P.F. Porlock says, it used to be for property rights. There was an economic aspect to it. There was a social aspect to it. Sometimes political. But marriage for love is very, very recent in history. And the whole ceremony is passing down property, passing down the burden of a wife or of passing down the burden of a daughter now becoming a wife. I felt like the whole ceremony was a lot for the bride instead of for the groom. And it almost felt a bit condescending, a bit misogynist in some parts, in the sense that, during the vows, the girl said, yeah, well, we all know how long I've been waiting for this to happen, as if it was solely for her, which is a bit weird. The whole, I'm pressuring my boyfriend to marry me. And then the joke, which the pastor made, who's the father of the bride, was like, oh, forgive them, Father, for they don't know what they're doing. Because marriage is a mistake somehow. It is a mistake, but yeah, Tired Floor says, if I get a partner or partners, I kind of want to have a party or something instead of an official wedding. Yeah, the party was fun. Probably fucking expensive, but it was a lot of fun. I don't like the idea of being married away, even if it's someone you love, but the ceremonies are so cute. Yeah. I didn't get the appeal of the ceremony personally. And it's so much attention. It's like you're paying for so much attention to yourself. To me, that's also kind of, I could never do that. Pay tens of thousands of dollars so that people can clap for you, stand up and, do ovations and celebrate you. It feels very self-centered. I know it's a tradition and everything, and it's justifiable through that. Fathers used to be relieved when their daughters got married. Yeah. Finally, I don't have this mouth to feed. I think there's this expectation to have a grand ceremony, and people tend to massively overspend on weddings. All right, this is probably how I'm going to end the segment, okay? It's going to be a really short segment. But it's one that I thought was important because it was my first wedding I went to. But I think these big gestures of love that you can see in weddings, but also on Valentine's Day, is very often not even for... This big gesture is not necessarily for the person you're making the gesture to, but it's like more of like signaling to the people, signaling to the people, but signaling to people in general, that love, or that, it's less about the person that you love and more about gesturing to the community or to a broader social group about your affection for that person. And to me, there's something a bit perverse about that. You see that in weddings, but you see that on Valentine's Day as well. We're talking about that this weekend. I'm really not into celebrations of love in general. To me, I don't get them. Ballet, for the first Valentine's Day we had, gave me a flower. And I was like, oh, thanks. I was so confused. I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Just look at it? And you sound very autistic. That's one of my autistic things, I guess. And I really didn't know how to react to the flower that Ballet gave me. And it's like, oh, it's to show that I love you. And I'm like, I already know that you love me. The fact that, we sleep in the same bed every single night shows me more that you love me than buying me this flower. Anyone can buy someone a flower. I don't get this. I really don't. And Valentine was like, Ballet was kind of sad about that. But then they understood, I guess, where I was coming from. But on the same day, which was Valentine's Day, someone I know did a massive gesture, like a common, we both know that person. So a common friend did this super big gesture for their girlfriend. And then Valentine was like, how come does this girl get this huge gesture and I don't even get anything, and I get a flower and then you don't give a fuck? And Ballet went back on that thought this weekend and kind of laughed at how I didn't do anything, as opposed to that person who did like the big gesture. And then I was like, wait, the person who did the big gesture, are they still with their girlfriend? And the answer was no. It didn't last. And I thought that was really interesting.